Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. As the title suggests, I'm going to be talking about my very first experience and kind of reviewing Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which honestly, as a relatively new Ninja Gaiden player, I do not have the foresight of playing the previous games, so I'm going to be reviewing this game in a vacuum with my own personal experience playing it, what I liked, what I didn't like, the newcomer to the Ninja Gaiden series of games. So with that all out of the way, let's actually get into the video. Now, how did I actually find out about Ninja Gaiden? Well, that is due to one of my best friends actually being a bit of a Ninja Gaiden fan who also likes some of the genre hack and slash games that I enjoy. But if we differ in some areas of taste when it comes to certain video games, he actually likes a broader selection than I do. Now, in hindsight, we've had many different conversations about video games, but how he got me into Ninja Gaiden specifically was through a little bit of the Master Collection. Now, I will say I only played a minute tops of each game in a very tough time and not really enjoying the experience, but I did see a little bit later on about Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. First, I was 50-50 on getting it, but then I decided and got dead set on getting it and trying it out because I thought maybe it might be a better experience than the Remaster Collection, and yes, I was right on that. Now, despite 2 Black not being a perfect experience, especially for the original players of Ninja Gaiden 2, and what it lacks when it comes to certain elements of difficulty and stuff like that, it is still a challenging but also neutral experience that it could be welcoming for new players to get into the franchise and maybe go back and play those original games. Fairly similar to the Resident Evil remakes, or how Devil May Cry 5 got me into the Devil May Cry franchise. In my personal opinion, the controls and also movement are a lot more smoother than the Remaster Collection. It was something that I noticed almost immediately, and it was a breath of fresh air, and it made the experience a lot better for me. Something else that I noticed almost immediately is that there was a lot of cut content, because if you compare different versions of this game, there's a lot of cut bosses, there's a lot of differences when it comes to each version having a different UI, cut gameplay mechanics, but I didn't really find out and notice those again and actually found out more info on this. Now, comparing different variations of the game, does that actually take away from the experience? I would say no and yes. The reason why I say no is because if this is your first experience, it will still feel like a solid game and you won't notice the cuts when it comes to certain things. But if you've played the different variations of the game, then yes. Now, some of the cut content isn't bad. I will say some of it deserved to be cut, while others I feel like didn't need to be, and the game still work with these cuts. I say yes, because it doesn't really show unless you're actually looking for it. As for the fact of can you actually play this game without playing the other games, the answer is yes, because the story is kind of self-contained and you really don't have too many callbacks to the previous games. But I do have my opinions on the story, and I will get into that later, but I would also say no at the same time, because there are playable characters that are introduced that you would not be familiar with unless you played the previous games, like Rachel and a couple other ones. Now, when it comes to the story and my opinions on it, I kind of feel like it's meh. The story itself bad? No, but I do feel it's a little bit generic, and it kind of just is like, I don't really know what's going on, it's a little bit confusing, and I don't understand what's going on as well, so that makes it worse. Basics of the story is an organization is trying to bring back some type of Japanese devil demon creature and that they worship and stuff, and I don't really know. Well, basically, yeah, that's really all I can remember, and it makes the story kind of forgettable in my eyes, which kind of sucks because it does have some pretty badass moments here and there with the different rivals and creatures that you have to fight throughout the entirety of the game, which I will give them credit where credit's due, that the creatures and villain designs are pretty cool looking during this game, and I really like them. They have such detail and such uniqueness to it. I will say the combat and boss fights, I'll get into this now, are actually pretty interesting. Combat almost takes a lot of influence from various different things. It has the brutality of classic God of War, the free flow and unique nature of Bayonetta and Devil May Cry, and the challenge of Dark Souls. Combat for me, as someone who's mainly played Devil May Cry, was an interesting change to get used to. When it comes to combat, this comparison might piss a lot of people off, but it did have some elements that I felt from Bayonetta. You're mainly on the ground and the camera is locked with you, and you have to launch enemies up, or you're kind of having to move from different directions and dodging and stuff like that, and occasionally blocking. The combat does prioritize movement and kind of that free flow nature like Devil May Cry, and I like that. A couple problems that I do have with combat is Ryu does get a lot of weapons and not a lot of reasons to use them and switch between them. Outside of looking cool and they have different strengths and weaknesses, there's not a lot of reasons to specifically actually switch to this weapon or that weapon, like there is in something like Devil May Cry 5, where there are specific enemies that force you to have to change your weapon or your playstyle as any character. And in this game, there really isn't that, and that's something that infuriates me, because also how you have to change your weapon, going through almost a weapon wheel type thing, and it's just kind of annoying. And the fact that I didn't have much of a reason to switch between my weapons and actually use them on different enemies kind of sucks, because most of the time I was either using the bow staff or the dragon sword, which, you know, even then it's very limiting when it comes to combos because there isn't too much you can do. And to make matters worse, the upgrade system really doesn't give you an idea of what you're gaining from upgrading your weapons. Other than them changing the designs and maybe upping the damage, I really couldn't tell if I was getting brand new combos or anything at all from really upgrading the weapons. Now, there is a list of different combos that you can pull off. The game does not give you the incentive to really test that out with the amount of enemies that you have to deal with, which is very few in certain areas, and the fact that you have to go to the main menu to see that list makes it even more infuriating. At least with games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, they do give you the incentive of trying out different moves and actually give you an upgrade system that utilizes the idea of experimentation, but also giving you the ability to see what you're getting. In this game, there really isn't that. Besides that small critique, I will say that the combat system is actually pretty fun and challenging, charging up kill moves when it comes to essence and also other various things. One problem that I will say, because of the amount of enemies on screen and also a lot of them using range, trying to even knock enemies in the air for an Azuna drop becomes virtually impossible most of the time, at least from my experience, and also blocking is pretty much useless. Now, this could be a skill issue on my part, but I feel like it becomes utterly pointless when you're surrounded by enemies and also you have stuff being thrown at you. Most of the time when you're actually pushing it, you're still getting hit anyway, so it makes the block utterly pointless. Personally, I know this is kind of divisive, but I really wish there was more air combat. Now, I know that a lot of people are divided about this fact in Ninja Gaiden 4, but I personally would like more reasons to get enemies in the air. This way, it gives us more freedom and also more things to do in combat, because honestly, I think it would be pretty cool to give us brand new air combos and extensions. Sadly, that's something that they didn't really do. As for the bosses, they're all uniquely difficult and different from one another, and none of them are actually the same outside of the Genshin fights and also the Elizabeth fight. Personally, one critique that I have is certain bosses do get new moves, but they don't give you a way to counter them, and most of the time you're just trying to get in close and hack at them. And also, they don't give you a way of countering some of these bosses' strategies. Most of the time, it's treated like a trial by fire to understand how these bosses work, which sometimes is great, but for a new player like me, it was kind of just annoyingly frustrating. As my first go around with the Ninja Gaiden games, would I recommend this? I would say yes. It was really fun, challenging, even with some of the critiques that I mentioned. I feel like you would still have a good time. I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10. Despite some of my problems with it, I will say that it was a very interesting experience, and I would solidly want to play some more Ninja Gaiden sometime in the future. Oh yeah, that's my thoughts and kind of a review on my first experience of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, whether you agree, disagree, and also make sure to hit the like button if you did enjoy, or the dislike button if you didn't. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification button to be notified when I upload if you are new, and also have a good rest of your guys' morning, afternoon, night, or whatever it is for you in the world, and please check out the description. Peace out, bye bye!